Oh, hey, what's up, you guys? How's it going? It's Papa, and today I wanted to go ahead and showcase you guys some must-know combos if you are going to play my latest deck that I just showed on the channel, SPRIGHT FIENDSMITH. Yes, it is still the deck that I am having the most fun playing right now in the current format, and I have had a lot of people ask me what you do with this deck without Beatrix now. So since I didn't do a combo the last time I profiled the SPRIGHT deck, which I believe was about like a month ago now, I thought I'd go ahead and do something just a little bit different this time and showcase you guys what the deck can do. I'll do a couple of test hands and I'll show you some of the basic starters that you need to basically make the deck work, and we'll just go from there. But before we do get into the combo tutorial, I want to go ahead and ask you guys to please, if you haven't already, check out the channel and subscribe for more videos. And if you do subscribe, it lets me know that I'm doing something right. But yeah, guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the combo tutorial, shall we? So yeah, guys, basically here's how this is going to work. I'm going to show you guys just a few plays that you can do just to show you what the deck can basically do, and then we'll do a couple test hands at the end to see what kind of board we can end on. Now, to start off the first one, we are going to start with a copy of Fiendsmith Engraver and a copy of SPRIGHT Starter, and then just to show you that the other cards in your hand don't matter, we have 3 outstanding Dogmaries. But yes, of course, we are going to start off by activating the effect of Engraver to add yourself a copy of Fiendsmith Track. Now that you have Fiendsmith Track, you are going to activate your Fiendsmith Track, and you're going to add yourself a copy of Fable Lurry, and you're going to discard the Fable Lurry at the resolution. Now, on the resolution of that, Lurry is going to then activate to be able to special summon itself out to the field. Now that this is on the field, you are going to link this away for a copy of Fiendsmith Requiem, like so. Now that you have Requiem, you are going to tribute the Requiem for its own effect to summon out a copy of Fiendsmith Engraver from your deck to the field. Now that this is on your field, you're going to activate the Requiem to equip itself from the graveyard to the field, and then you are going to contact fuse using the 2 for a copy of Necroquip Princess, like so. Now that you have the Necroquip on the field, you are then going to activate your Engraver in the graveyard to put the Requiem back into the extra deck to summon out the Engraver back out to the field. Now that you've done this, you have had the 1 summon of Flurry, the Requiem, and then the Engraver, and then the Necroquip, and now you have the Engraver. So they have to nib you here basically, but since they're probably not going to, since all you've done is activate Engraver this turn, you're then going to use your 2 monsters, like so, and you are going to make yourself a copy of DDD Wave High King Caesar, like so. Now that you have the Wave High King Caesar on the field, it is basically going to be your protection for cards like Nibiru. So what you're going to do next is you're going to take that starter in your hand and you're going to activate it, and you are going to grab yourself a copy of SPRIGHT Blue from the deck. And now that the blue is summoned, you will activate the effect of blue, adding yourself a copy of SPRIGHT Jet from your deck to the hand. You are then going to special summon your SPRIGHT Jet by activating the effect to get yourself a copy of Double Cross. Now, if you already opened Double Cross in your opening hand, then you can just go ahead and grab yourself another copy of Starter just to add some more board presence. So now that your hand is Double Cross with 3 extra cards, you're going to take your 2 SPRIGHT monsters and you're going to link them off for a copy of SPRIGHT Sprint, like so. Once Sprint hits the field, you are going to then activate the effect of Sprint, and you are going to send yourself a copy of Nimble Angler from the deck to the graveyard. Nimble Angler is then going to activate, and Angler is going to special summon out 2 copies of Nimble Beaver, like so. Now that you have this, you are going to use these 2, and you are going to overlay for an Xyz summon of Gigantic Sprite, like so. Now that your Gigantic is on the field, you are then going to activate the effect to detach and summon a level 2 from the deck, and you are going to go ahead and summon out your copy of Swap Frog. Once Swap Frog is on the field, you are then going to activate the effect of Swap Frog, and you are going to send yourself a copy of Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier from the deck to the graveyard. Mirror Mage is then going to trigger, being able to add yourself a copy of Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier from your deck to the hand. Now that this is your field, you are then going to use your Freezing Chains to activate and then special summon back your Mirror Mage from the graveyard to the field. You are then going to use your Swap Frog and your Mirror Mage, and you are going to immediately Xyz summon for a copy of Totally Awesome, like so. So this is now on the field. You have the double cross to be set for your opponent, and then basically your end turn is going to be 1 interruption off of the double cross. You have the Toad Omni Negate. You have a detach with Sprin when your opponent would special summon a monster by detaching from the Gigantic, and then you also have 2 negate summons from Wave High King Caesar. That was just off of 2 cards. You still have 3 extra cards in hand. They could be extenders, they could be hand traps, whatever it may be. If you open up more extenders, then you can keep going from there, but I'm just going to go ahead and end this turn 1 combo here because this is a lot of interruptions for just 2 cards. Now we are going to go ahead and move on to the next play. Okay guys, for this 2-card combo, what you're going to use is you're going to have to start off with a copy of Fiendsmith Track and a copy of Nimble Beaver. This also works if you open up Engraver. I'm just showing that if you open up the track, it's not the end of the world. You still get to be able to combo from there. So since we are on a Sprite deck, we want to make sure that we get all of our high level summons out of the way first, so that way when you go to make your Gigantic, you are not using your high level monsters after Gigantic has already resolved. So of course, starting off with your turn, you are going to activate your copy of Fiendsmith Track. Fiendsmith Track is going to get you your copy of Lurie, and then you're going to send it itself to the graveyard. And like you haven't seen this before, Lurie is going to trigger and it's going to special summon itself, and then you are going to link it off for a copy of Fiendsmith Requiem, like so. And then this is basically just autoplay from the here on out. You are going to use the Requiem effect to summon the Engraver from the deck. Requiem is then going to activate. You are going to equip it to the Engraver. You're going to use the 2 monsters, and you are going to contact Fuse for Necroquip Princess. You are then going to use the Engraver effect in the graveyard, and you are going to put back the Fiendsmith Requiem back into the extra deck to special summon out Fiendsmith Engraver. Now again, this is going to basically be your play around Nibiru. You are going to use the 2 monsters, and you are going to Exi summon for a copy of DDD Wave High King Caesar, like so. Now that this is your board and you're basically Nibiru proof, you are then going to normal summon your copy of Nimble Beaver, and Nimble Beaver is going to activate to special summon a Nimble monster from the deck. So we are going to special summon out our copy of Nimble Angler. You can also special summon out a Nimble Beaver, but I would like to have the Nimble Beavers in the deck, because then when you send your Angler, then you basically just have more bodies. So you're going to use the 2 monsters, and you are going to link them off for a copy of Sprite Sprint, like so. Sprite Sprint then going to trigger. You're going to send your copy of Nimble Angler from the deck to the graveyard, like so. Angler is then going to trigger, and you are going to special summon out the other Nimble monsters from your deck. So it's going to be another copy of Beaver and a second Beaver. Now, if you want to play Nimble Sunfish, you totally can. I just don't really want to play any more Nimble cards because I think the 5 are good, especially when you pair it with Swap Frog, to where you don't need any more Nimble monsters in the deck. So this is your board now. What you are going to do is instead you are going to then use your Sprite Sprint and your Nimble Beaver, and you are going to overlay for a copy of Gigantic Sprite. Gigantic Sprite then going to trigger by detaching the Beaver to special summon from the deck. You're going to special summon Sprite Blue, and then Sprite Blue is then going to activate, and you will get yourself a copy of Sprite Jet. Now that you have Sprite Jet in your hand, you can special summon the Sprite Jet. Jet will then activate, and you are going to nag yourself another copy of Sprite Double Cross. Again, like I said, you can go ahead and special summon, or not special summon, you can go ahead and add the Sprite Starter. You can add Double Cross, it just depends on where your hand is, but of course the main play is you want to go for Double Cross. Now what you can do here is you can use these 2 monsters, and you can link summon a copy of Silhouette Rabbit. So Rabbit is then going to activate on summon to basically set a continuous trap that acts as a monster from the deck to the field, and it's going to be Angel Statue Azaroon. I ended up taking the Silhouette trick out from the main deck, and I opted to play the Azaroon instead moving forward, so that's going to be set to your side of the field. Now a couple of things you can do here is you can go ahead and use the Gigantic and the Nimble Beaver, and you can make a link summon for your copy of IP Masquerena. Basically what this gives you in this board is that since you don't have Toad access, you can go ahead and use the Masquerena during your opponent's turn to use itself and the Rabbit to make your SP Little Knight, and then Rabbit is also on the field as an extra form of spell trap removal for when the Azaroon gets special summoned. You basically get a free spell and trap pop off of that, and then also you can use the Masquerena and the statue as well to perform a link summon as well. So basically your end board with these two cards, with the copy of Nimble Beaver and the copy of Fiendsmith Track, you basically end on this opening board, and you still have 3 cards in hand. So it's basically the same thing, except with just a little bit more diversity, because you're not ending on Toad since you didn't open up any Sprite cards, so you want to be able to have some accessibility to Sprite. But yeah guys, let me go ahead and show you one more combo before we do the actual test hands, and then we'll go from there. Alright guys, and then for this last 3-card combo, what I'm going to showcase you guys is what happens when you open up an extender, a starter, and a Fiendsmith card. So basically the only Fiendsmith card you can't draw for this play is the Lurry, because you are going to be using your normal summon for the Nimble Beaver. So basically if you open up Engraver or Track, then you're basically good to go. But I'm just going to showcase you guys what we have just for now, and that way it can hopefully show you what you need to do in case you do open up those cards in the future. But we are going to activate your copy of Fiendsmith Engraver to add a copy of Fiendsmith Track from the deck to your hand. Now that you've added Fiendsmith Track, you are then going to activate your track, and you are going to basically do the same thing that you've seen in the last 2 combos, and you're going to add your Fabled Lurry from your deck to your hand and then send it to the graveyard. Lurry is then going to trigger to special summon itself out to the field, and then you're going to link it off for, of course, a copy of Fiendsmith Requiem, like so. Requiem then going to trigger, you are going to special summon out a copy of Fiendsmith Engraver from the deck to the field, and then you are going to use the Requiem to equip, and then you are going to contact these off for your neck equip princess. Now that this is on the field, you will put back the Requiem off of the Engraver effect to special summon itself back out to the field, and then you use the 2 for a copy of Wave High King Caesar. Very shocking, I know. It's not like we haven't done this already, but we've done it plenty of times now. So there we are. And now what you're going to do here, since we are in a Beaver proof, you are going to normal summon your Nimble Beaver. It is going to activate its effect to summon a Nimble from the deck. So you should definitely be summoning your copy of Angler, because if you're summoning Beaver, odds are you will not be able to have the full broken board. So you're then going to use these 2 monsters to make a link summon of your Sprite Sprin, like so. Now that Sprint is on the field, you will use itself to activate its effect and send a Nimble Angler from the deck to the graveyard. Angler is then going to trigger on a new chain to summon out the other 2 Nimble Beavers from the deck. Now that this is your field, you are going to use these 2, and you are going to make an Xyz summon for your copy of Gigantic Sprite, for example. And now that Gigantic's on the field, you will detach the Beaver, and you will then special summon out the Swap Frog from the deck to the field. Now that Swap Frog is on the field, you will activate Swap Frog's effect to send Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier from the deck to the graveyard. Now this is in the grave, you will then activate its effect to basically get yourself a copy of Freezing Chains from the deck. Now that you have this, you will activate your Freezing Chains, and you will go ahead and take the Mirror Mage and special summon it. You will then overlay the 2 for a copy of Totally Awesome. Now that you have all of these on the field, since you control a rank 2, you can special summon the blue from your hand. Blue is then going to activate, adding yourself a copy of Jet. Now, with this, basically what you want to do, if you don't have a starter in hand already, I would usually advise to get to the starter, but since it's at 3 and you play only 1 double cross, we are just going to do the same thing and special summon the Jet and add the copy of double cross from the deck. Now that you have 2 extra monsters on the field, you can link these off, and you can go ahead and special summon out either 2 different options. You have the choice to go for the IP Masquerena, or you can go for the Silo Hat Rabbit. It doesn't really matter which one you choose. In this instance, I am going to summon out the Silo Hat Rabbit because I prefer the extra form of interruption. And then basically with this, once it hits the field, you are then going to set from the deck the the 1 copy of Angel Statue as your own. And now that this is your field, you will take your double cross and you will set it to your side of the field as well. So you're basically ending your board 2 cards in hand, a Spell Trap Pop with Rabbit, a Omni Negate Summon with Angel Statue, whatever you want to do with the double cross, the detached material from Gigantic Sprite, or the DDD, or the Toad, depending on how you sequence your effects. And then you also have the 2 negated summons off of the Wave High King Caesar as well. So very strong for 3 cards. Very, very strong. And if you open up a hand trap, then you're in business. And if not, then it's up to you. But basically, this is what happens when you have 3 cards. So basically a starter, an engraver, and a sprite card, or an extender, whatever it may be. But yeah, this is a lot. Again, you could do Masquerena if you want to. I just like the little rabbit. That's just my personal preference. But yeah, guys, that is going to do it for the 3-card opening hand. Let's go ahead and do one test hand, and then we will be on our way out. While I'm shuffling, I just wanted to go ahead and make one small minor note as well. Basically, what I didn't show you was that I do play the ciphering cards in the main deck as well. Basically, what you play the ciphering cards for is just basically more spell trap removal for board breakers, essentially, because board breakers is really what hurts this deck. So if your opponent has like Lightning Storm or they have Raigeki, basically you get to make your end board if you open a Cypherane monster, I should say. If you are opening a Cypherane monster, then you should probably be ending on Lambda, which is why we play the Lambda in the extra deck. And if you do make the Lambda, it does give your opponent knowledge that you have a Cypherane monster in your hand. But honestly, I'd rather give them that knowledge that I have it and just be able to get rid of the potential board wipe, because honestly, Lightning Storm does hurt the deck since you can't really summon everything in defense because all your cards are kind of weak. And then on top of that, the Link monsters, of course, can't be summoned in defense, but also Delta is just one hell of a card, and I just like it for the risk of potential board breaks. And then if worst comes to worst, you can always special summon one of the Cyphrames off of E-Telly. So that's about that. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and do the test hand. I think I shuffled up very well, so let's see the opening hand. We have Engraver, Sprite Jet, Called by the Grave, Sprite Red, and Nimble Angler. Now this hand is typically not the ideal opening hand that you want, but honestly this hand is also just pretty strong, I'm not gonna lie. It's very good, so let's go ahead and play this out. We will start off with our copy of Engraver. Again, you have seen this many times over in this video, but I'm just gonna show you because this is an actual test hand. So we will go ahead and add ourselves a copy of Fiendsmith Track. Track is then gonna be activated, and you are going to add yourself a copy of Fabled Lurry, and you are going to send itself to the graveyard as well, wherever it is. There we go. Lurry is then going to trigger to special summon itself out to the field, and then you are going to use the Lurry to link off into a copy of Fiendsmith Requiem. Requiem then going to activate to special summon a Engraver from the deck. And then this also works too because you did draw the Called by the Grave, so if your opponent has Ash, then, well, you can negate it. You are then going to use your Requiem, and you are going to equip to the Engraver. You are going to use these as a contact for your copy of Necroquip Princess, and then you will use the Engraver to put back the Requiem to summon back the Engraver. Now that you have these two, you can go ahead and use them for a copy of DDD Wave High King Caesar. So that is our board right now. In the farthest zone, I'm trying to do it to where you don't have such bad glare. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. So now that you have this, basically what you're gonna do next is you're going to normal summon your copy of Sprite Angler, and then you are going to special summon your copy of Sprite Red. Now that you have these out, you have an extra form of interruption with Sprite Red, just in case something goes wrong, but you will special summon the Sprite Jet from your hand, activating its effect to add yourself a copy of. In this instance, since I don't have access to blue, I am actually going to go ahead and add Sprite Starter from the deck to the hand. And then I am going to use the Angler and the Sprite Jet, and we are going to special summon a copy of Sprite Sprint. The cool thing here is that if you happen to get hit by like a Ghost Mourner or an Effect Veiler, then you can use the Sprite Red to tribute it to negate the effect of whatever it is. And then also if you have the user Called by the Grave already, then you still have that extra monster negation with the Sprite Red. But Sprite Sprint is going to go ahead and activate, and you are going to send your copy of Nimble Angler from the deck to the graveyard, and then that one's going to go ahead and special summon out 2 Nimble monsters from the deck to the field. Now that you have a pretty solid board building up right now, you are going to use your 2 copies of Nimble Beaver, and you are going to overlay them for a copy of Gigantic Sprite, like so. You will then use your Gigantic Sprite to go ahead and detach to special summon from the deck, and you will special summon out a copy of Swap Frog. Swap Frog then going to trigger to send your Mirror Mage from the deck to the graveyard, and then Mirror Mage is going to trigger, and you are going to get your copy of Freezing Chains from the deck to the hand. You will then activate your Freezing Chains to special summon back out, and then you will use these 2 for an Xyz summon of your Totally Awesome, like so. Now that this is your board, basically what you want, if you want to keep going, you totally can, what you can do is you can activate your copy of Sprite Starter, and then you will go ahead and summon out your Sprite Blue. Blue will then trigger, and then you are going to add yourself a copy of Sprite Carrot for an extra form of negation. And then we will use the Gigantic and the Blue to link off for, this time, a copy of IP Masquerena. And then since this is your field, you can go ahead and special out your Sprite Carrot, and then you have the Called by the Grave if you haven't used it already that you can set to your field. You end with no cards in hand, but you have a Spell Trap Negate with Carrot, you have a Bounce Back with Sprin, you have a Monster Negate with Sprite Red, you have a free Link with Masquerena, and then you have a Toad for an Omni Negate, and then you have 2 Monster Effect Summon Negations with Wave High King Caesar. It's the whole 5-card hand, but it's still pretty good. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, because you'll make the Little Knight, 5, 6, 7 interruptions, and then 8 if you count the Called by the Grave. So that's a lot of cards. That's going to be basically stopping your opponent, unless they open up Dark Ruler, but let's hope, right? But yeah, guys, that's going to go ahead and do it. We are going to stop it there. I think that was a very good enough test hand to show you like what the deck's full capability is. There's a lot of interruption that you can do with it, and honestly, this deck just makes me very happy. I'm glad that I can keep playing this deck. It's so good, it's so much fun, and I highly recommend that you guys give it a try. But until next time, guys, this has been Papa, and I will catch you all in my next video.